Well, good morning and welcome back on a Saturday. It is March the 1st. I'm Teddy and you are listening to MessyMocha. So go ahead, grab your cup and let's sip this morning mocha up for a little bit. Shout out to all my other bears. I call the Grizzlies and the Honey Bears. As you're coming in, please hit the like and share this broadcast. You can contact me right now at unwinewithteddy@gmail.com. So last night, I talked about what happened in the Oval Office. Yeah. If you didn't get a chance to see the exchange, the fiery exchange between Vice President J.D. Vance and President Vladimir Zelensky, also between President Vladimir Zelensky and President Donald Trump, then you missed it because there's lots and lots of headlines and reaction to that particular story. All right, so let's take this down. So I can come out. There we go. Who has joined me this morning? First in, Miss Vaughn, 50. I know some of you are not getting your notifications. Just make sure that you turn on all notifications, even if you have to unsubscribe and resubscribe to this channel. So let's get into it. Headlines read. Let me turn down the music. I'm enjoying the puppy music. Thought I'd come on before I get out today. So I will be covering a little bit of CNN and Fox for comparison, the reaction, live updates as well. So from CNN, Trump allies rally around him after fiery exchange with Zelensky. I know I've seen the reaction from some of the senators, specifically Lindsey Graham. Yeah, they're all in support of how it was handled yesterday. By the way, a lunch that was scheduled to be served right after was never served. A news conference was canceled, and it was a surreal day. Broken diplomacy at the White House. Again, lots of reactions. President Zelensky appears, they are saying, conciliatory after extraordinary public argument, and that's exactly what it was. Let's see, I'm scanning here. U.S. National Security Advisor offers his account of telling Zelensky to leave the White House. Mini analysis. Hear what Zelensky said following tense Oval meeting. What started that? Because I didn't play any of it. Let's pause it for just a second. Let me know that the sound is good.
We know how much people depend on connectivity in homes. Here in the Comcast family, we're building an integrated in-home Wi-Fi solution for millions of families like my own.
President Zelensky just gave an interview to Fox, and President Zelensky was asked if he owes President Trump an apology. Listen to this.
So I'm not hearing from you, Mr. President, a thought that you owe the president an apology.
No, I respect President and I respect American people. And if, I don't know, if I think that we have to be very open and very honest. And I'm not sure that we did something bad. I think maybe sometimes some things we have to discuss out of media, with all respect to democracy and to a free media.
Shouldn't this dynamic, if you're going to be like this, be behind closed doors? Not
of course. And
so do you regret that? Are you regretting that that happened today?
Regretting? Yes, I think it was not good. I think it was not good because we had a lot of different dialogues. I'm always open to media, but there are very sensitive things. I just want to be honest, and I just want our partners to understand the situation correctly, and I want to understand everything correctly. That's about us. Not to lose our friendship.
That was not a yes. I certainly did not say that he was going to apologize. And, you know, the point that he was just making about it being open to the press, you know, I don't believe that meetings between two allies generally get that contentious, whether it's in front of the camera or behind the camera. They definitely have discussions and they have serious disagreements, which they try to work out. But, you know, I know you said earlier that it was genuine. I totally agree with you that Donald Trump's and J.D. Vance's, well, Donald Trump in particular, his reaction was genuine, that he was genuinely angry. But the fact that the cameras were allowed to stay for as long as they were, the Trump administration, the president himself, clearly, in fact, he sort of suggested he wanted the American people to see this moment. He had been against a lot of the support for Ukraine for a long time. Certainly, J.D. Vance had been against the U.S. staying involved in Ukraine. And so we can never forget that even though he is the president of the United States of America, he is very much focused on the people who brought him to the dance. And those people, a lot of the voters who supported him, even more than that, the majority of the American people, they're done with supporting Ukraine.
So that was Dana Bash. Her reaction, CNN, a panel put together, and then you heard President Zelensky being interviewed by Brit Hume in the beginning of that. on Fox News. So, President Zelensky, his response, whether he should apologize for what happened yesterday in the Oval Office, says he was being open, he was being honest. Were there any regrets that it was done in front of the cameras? You know, this is America media. So they were invited in, and the cameras kept on rolling. Could some of that have been, cut at that time? And especially seeing the way that it was going, it could have been, but the cameras were allowed to roll. Again, I just hope that there is, another opportunity for discussion. So, the latest on Trump's presidency after hostile meeting with Zelensky, what is being covered? President Vladimir Zelensky says it's crucial, and I should say Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky says it's crucial for Ukraine to have President Donald Trump's backing and expressed his gratitude to the U.S. on Saturday, a day after Trump and Vice President J.D. Vance berated him in the Oval Office. Zelensky also said Kyiv is ready to sign the minerals agreement he had traveled to the U.S. to hammer out before the highly public diplomatic breakdown. Allies back Zelensky. Western leaders scrambled to support Ukraine after the exchange deepened the fault lines between Washington and many of its traditional European allies. Zelensky will meet today with UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer as Trump's push for a deal with Russia's President Vladimir Putin has left Europe sidelined. Meanwhile, Trump is pursuing his sweeping effort to downsize the U.S. government. Federal workers are once again being told to report their past week's accomplishments to the administration after a similar mass email prompted confusion and concern about more firings across agencies last week. 18 minutes ago, U.S. National Security Advisor offers his account of telling Zelensky to leave White House. That would be National Security Advisor Mike Waltz speaking during the annual, this happened early in February or mid-February. They're showing a picture of Mike Waltz. But the National Security Advisor Mike Waltz offered a first-person account of the moments he told what he described as a still argumentative Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky it was time to leave the White House after a historically contentious Oval Office meeting with President Donald Trump. It was historical. Never seen anything like it. I read that Christine Amanpour, she's the senior, one of the senior correspondents there at the White House. She's been around for years, maybe more than 25 years. Said in all of her time, she has never seen anything like it. Going on, both sides retreated to separate rooms after the press departed, and Waltz said during a Saturday interview with Fox News that he, Secretary of State Marco Rubio, and other top officials then advised the president, pretty much unanimously advised the president, that after that insult in the Oval Office, we just do not see how that can move forward, that any further engagement would only go backwards from this moment on. As CNN has reported, Waltz was then dispatched to deliver the message that Zelensky was no longer welcome. That had to be, difficult. Here they are separated in rooms. You have the Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky and his people in one room, and then President Trump giving orders and it being carried out. Waltz, no longer welcome. Asked by Fox News, though, whether Zelensky seemed to recognize what had happened, Waltz said no, he didn't. Frankly, his team did. His ambassador and his advisor were practically, he says, they were practically in tears, wanting this to move forward. But Zelensky was still argumentative. Yes, all right. To ask questions. He was shut down as he was trying to explain at least a couple of times, just basically, we've heard enough. And it was then that I cringed at the thought that we were all watching this in real time. And my reaction was no different. As a matter of fact, many reacted even more candid and extreme about what they had witnessed. Zelensky, he added, has not gotten the memo that this is a new sheriff in town. This is a new president, and we are determined to take a new approach towards peace. Remember, Trump and Vice President J.D. Vance berated Zelensky during the meeting for a perceived lack of gratitude, with the Ukrainian leader pushing back on a number of points as the conversation grew increasingly tense. I'm just scanning to see what is coming in. Three hours and 10 minutes ago, as I would expect, Ukrainian citizens stand with Zelensky after heated Oval Office meeting with Trump. His citizens are standing with their country's president after his heated exchange. And then they have all of these various ones that they interviewed. One person says, it's sad. We'll see what happens next and where it all leads. So over the weekend, even today, President Zelensky, as I mentioned, is or will be meeting with UK Prime Minister Starmer today. See if I have any other audio. That I want to play. Some are calling President Trump Putin's puppet. Let's hear what Ralph Emanuel had to say on Trump and Zelensky's contentious meeting, if I can get it to play.
Pro-enamel, clinical enamel strength, can help us to keep our enamel for a lifetime. It's backed by science. It is clinically proven to strengthen our teeth. I would recommend this toothpaste to everybody. It's really an amazing product.
I want to now bring in former White House Chief of Staff during the Obama administration, former ambassador to Japan under the Biden administration, Rahm Emanuel. I wanted to get that ambassador title in because from the perspective of a diplomat, never mind an American.
Well, that meeting needs diplomatic immunity.
Yeah, I mean, okay, so talk us through what your reaction is to that, particularly as somebody who, never mind when you were ambassador, but when you were chief of staff to President Obama, you've been in many meetings like that, many meetings in the Oval Office, none like that.
No, listen, I mean, there's three things when I was watching that, three things or three meetings that I said, I've never seen that before. That meeting, the time in the cabinet room where Nancy Pelosi stood up and said, all roads about Putin, all roads with you lead to Putin and Russia. And then the meeting in Helsinki between President Trump and President Putin, where the President of the United States took the side of President Putin and his word against the American National Security and Intelligence Committee. Those were three times I said, I've never seen something like this. In foreign soil, you're taking the side of a foreign leader against your own national security apparatus, or in that effort. But so what's the common theme here? In each meeting when the president gets hostile or a new low or a new precedent's been set because we've gone into what we call uncharted water, it's President Trump, President Putin, and the veracity of President Putin's word. Each time there's been an explosion, whether that's with President Zelensky, Speaker Nancy Pelosi, or in the case where the press is aghast and seeing President Trump take the side of President Putin and believe him and not the voice and the caution by the American intelligence community.
And knowing
that to me is earth-shattering.
And having all of that as a backdrop, what people in and around Donald Trump who were pushing him for this meeting wanted, and clearly what Vladimir Zelensky wanted, was to reestablish a relationship with the goal of finding peace. And how off track is that now, given what we saw and given what happened?
Well, two things that I think are real important to keep in mind. One is trust is everything. You can't do anything if and I remember when we were trying to negotiate, and this is not even in close to this realm, but between Japan and South Korea that have deep history, our own relationship, without that trust that President Biden had set up with the two leaders, they would have done the bare minimum, not the maximum. That was true with President Clinton. And when I saw in both the Y Plantation Agreement, also at Camp David between Prime Minister Ehud Barak
There's no
and Yasser
trust here
Arafat.
at all.
So trust, right, zero. So moving forward, you may have to have other people have communication, not the two heads of state in that area. The other thing, I think we're all reacting, if I could, you know, traditionally in America, from President Wilson forward, you've had two kind of themes between an internationalist outlook versus an isolationist outlook. You're now getting a new paradigm, one of predatory versus principled. And it's a whole new world. And what we're reacting to, we've never seen the United States tell another country, we want your minerals. I mean, this put Lend-Lease program under World War II in a whole different category. We're telling Greenland, you're not going to have your sovereignty unless we have your minerals. Panama, we want our canal back.
Did you hear that? The U.S. has never told another country, we want your minerals. We never told a sovereign country, you know, we're going to do this or that. Wow.
We've become predatory in our foreign policy rather than principled. And it's a different variation of the historic framework between an internationalist outlook versus an isolationist outlook. President Trump is not an isolationist. He is predatory in his behavior and actions when it comes to other countries and their resources. And he believes, like President Putin, like President Xi, that might makes right. And you either accept it or we're going to deal with you accordingly. And that's just a different language and a different perspective. That's not how we see ourselves. And to be honest, it's not how other countries and other people see us. And I take up one event from when I was ambassador. I was hosting an event for all the ambassadors from Africa. And he says, you have to understand, America is our benchmark. And so we're changing the way people view us.
Rahm Emanuel, thank you so much for being here.
Rahm Emanuel. Yeah, former ambassador to Japan and former White House chief of staff under the Obama administration. You heard his reaction. Many people were aghast at what they again witnessed, heard, saw. It was historical. It was shocking. It was, is this how things are done? Moving forward, in terms of diplomacy. Well, we will see. You heard what President Zelensky said following these tense moments at the Oval Office meeting. Caitlin Collins, she has her own talk show on CNN at night. I think it comes on around 9 o'clock. She interviews, many heads of state and politicians and others who gave their reaction. She interviewed Secretary of State Mark Rubio about what Zelensky, should he apologize? I wonder how
You built this?
he responded. Let's see.
Looks like you need a break. The General gives you one with flexible payment options.
Look, a chemical reaction!
Oh! For a great low rate, go with the General.
Hit it again, Jen.
What specifically do you want to see President Zelensky apologize for?
Well, apologize for turning this thing into the fiasco for him that it became. There was no need for him to go in there and become antagonistic. Look, this thing went off the rails. You were there, I believe. It went off the rails when he said, let me ask you a question to the vice president. What kind of diplomacy are you talking about? Well, this is a serious thing. I mean, thousands of people have been killed, thousands. And he talks about all these horrible things that have happened to prisoners of war and children, all true, all bad. This is what we're dealing with here. It needs to come to an end.
So he says it all started when President Zelensky said, what kind of diplomacy are you talking about? He really didn't say it in that tone. You heard how he asked or responded to J.D. Vance talking about diplomacy. So he's coming back saying, well, basically, show me what this looks like. Tell me what that looks like, as he framed it, his history with dealing agreements with Putin, President Putin of Russia.
We are trying to bring it to an end. The way you bring it to an end is you get Russia to the table to talk. And he understands that attacking Putin, no matter how anyone may feel about him personally, forcing the president into a position where you're trying to goad him into attacking Putin, calling him names, maximalist demands about Russia having to pay for the reconstruction, all the sorts of things that you talk about in a negotiation. Well, when you start talking about that aggressively, and the president's a deal maker, he's made deals his entire life, you're not going to get people to the table. And so you start to perceive that maybe Zelensky doesn't want a peace deal. He says he does, but maybe he doesn't. And that active, open undermining of efforts to bring about peace is deeply frustrating for everyone who's been involved in communications with them leading up to today. And I think he should apologize for wasting our time.
No, but President Zelensky wants to know long-term strategy. Is it just today? Or even if he's out of the office, even if he decides to resign, even if, the power changes, what does it look like for Ukraine?
For a meeting that was going to end the way it did.
You yourself have said previously that Putin cannot be trusted in negotiations. That was the point that President Zelensky was ultimately making during that conversation, is that there cannot be an agreement without security guarantees, because he was talking about all the ceasefire agreements before, or agreements that Putin has just blown past. I mean, do you still feel that way, that Putin cannot be trusted in these negotiations?
Well, I was there yesterday when the president said in front of the media that our approach is going to be trust but verify. President Trump's made deals his entire life. He's not going to get suckered into some deal that's not a real deal. We all understand this. We understand it on our end for certain. And so the goal here is to get to a place we have to explore whether peace is possible. I've said this repeatedly. I don't know. I think it is. based on what they've said so far, but we have to explore that. How else is this war going to end? I asked people, what is the European plan to end this war? I can tell you what one foreign minister told me, and I'm not going to say who it was, but I can tell you what one of them told me, and that is that the war goes on for another year, and at that point, Russia will feel so weakened that they'll beg for a peace. That's another year of killing, another year of dying, another year of destruction, and by the way, not a very realistic plan in my point of view.
So, what's the solution, on the other hand, to the Middle East crisis? How does that war end? I think some have suggested that the people in Gaza, all the Gazans, 2 million, be relocated and that land made into something different. Not saying that all the 2 million will be invited back after everything is, reconstructed along the, in Gaza. So what about that war? How does that end? What about the talks between Hamas and Israeli? I was going to say Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu.
So if there's a chance at peace, even if it's a 1% chance, that needs to be explored. And that's what President Trump is trying to do here.
It's a tough one. It is. Wow, we've been on for 30 minutes. But this is a very important subject. As I mentioned, Christian Amanpour, stunned watching Trump-Zelensky's meeting go off the rails. Again, if you missed it, it was a very tense exchange in the Oval Office. I played a little bit of it last night. Know if I can find it.
What's inside those Cintas trucks you see everywhere?
A little bit of it.
The ones over 1 million
case you missed
businesses
it.
rely on to help them stay clean, protected, and looking their best. Actually, it's not just what's inside that's important. It's who. Your dedicated Cintas service rep understands what you need to help you keep your business running smoothly. So get Cintas and get ready for the workday.
Oh, I'm ready!
For 4 years in the United States of America, we had a president who stood up at press conferences and talked tough about Vladimir Putin, and then Putin invaded Ukraine and destroyed a significant chunk of the country. The path to peace and the path to prosperity is maybe engaging in diplomacy. We tried the pathway of Joe Biden of thumping our chest and pretending that the President of the United States' words mattered more than the President of the United States' actions. What makes America a good country is America engaging in diplomacy. That's what President Trump is doing.
Can I ask you?
Sure.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. So he occupied our parts, big parts of Ukraine, part of East and Crimea. So he occupied it on 2014. So during a lot of years, so I'm not speaking about just Biden, but those time was Obama, then President Obama, then President Trump, then President Biden, now the President Trump, and God bless, now President Trump will stop him. But during 2014, nobody stopped him. He just occupied and took. He killed people. You know what the contact
2015.
2014 and 2014.
2014?
Yeah. So
I was not here.
Yeah, but
that's exactly right.
Yes, but during 2014 till 2022, the situation the same. The people have been dying on the contact line. Nobody stopped him. You know that we had conversations with him. a lot of conversation, my bilateral conversation, and we signed with him, me, like a new president. In 2019, I signed with him the deal. I signed with him, Macron and Merkel, we signed ceasefire. Ceasefire. All of them told me that he will never go. We signed him with gas contract. Yes, but after that, he broken this ceasefire. He killed our people and he didn't exchange prisoners. We signed the exchange of prisoners, but he didn't do it. What kind of diplomacy, JD, you are speaking about? What do you mean?
I'm talking about the kind of diplomacy that's going to end the destruction of your country.
Yes, but if you
Mr.
are
President,
not
Mr. President, with respect, I think it's disrespectful for you to come into the Oval Office and try to litigate this in front of the American media. Right now, you guys are going around and forcing conscripts to the front lines because you have manpower problems. You should be thanking the President for trying to bring an end to this conflict.
Have you ever been to Ukraine that you say what problems we have?
I have been to.
Come once.
I've actually watched and seen the stories, and I know what happens is you bring them on a propaganda tour, Mr. President. Do you disagree that you've had problems bringing people into your military? And do you think that it's respectful to come to the Oval Office of the United States of America and attack the administration that is trying to prevent the destruction of your country?
A lot of questions. Let's start from the beginning.
Sure.
First of all, during the war, everybody has problems, even you, but you have nice ocean and don't feel now, but you will feel it in the future. God bless.
You don't know that.
God bless. God bless. You will not have a war.
Don't tell us what we're going to feel. We're trying to solve a problem. Don't tell us what we're going to feel.
I'm not telling you.
Because you're in no position to dictate that.
That's
Remember
exactly what
this. You're in no position to dictate what we're going to feel. We're going to feel very good.
You will feel influence.
We're going to feel very good and very strong.
You will feel influence.
You're right now not in a very good position. You've allowed yourself to be in a very bad position, and he happens to be right about it.
From the very beginning of the war.
You're not in a good position. You don't have the cards right now. With us, you start having
I'm not playing
cards.
cards.
Right now, you don't.
I'm
You're
very
playing
serious,
cards.
Mr. President.
You're
I'm
playing
very
cards.
serious.
You're
I'm
gambling
the
with the
president
lives
in
of
war.
millions of people.
You think-
You're gambling with World War III.
what do you think
You're
about?
gambling with
What do you
World
think
War
about?
III. And what you're doing is very disrespectful to the country, this country. That's
with
back
all
to
respect to
you.
your
Far
country.
more than a lot of people said they
respect.
should have.
Have you said thank you once this
A lot
entire
of
meeting?
times.
No, in this
Even
entire meeting,
today.
have you said thank
Even
you?
today.
You went to Pennsylvania and campaigned for the opposition in October. Offer some words of appreciation for the United States of America and the president who's trying to save your country.
Please, you think that if you will speak very loudly about the war, you
He's
can...
not speaking loudly. He's not speaking loudly. Your country is in big trouble.
Can I
Wait a
answer?
minute. No.
Can
You've
I
done a lot
answer?
of talking. Your country is in big trouble.
I know.
You're not
I
winning.
know.
You're not winning this.
I
You have a damn good chance of
we are
coming out
staying,
okay because of
Mr.
us.
President, we are staying in our country, staying strong from the very beginning of the war. We've been alone, and we are thankful. I said thanks
You haven't
in
been
this
alone.
cabinet,
You
and
haven't
not
been
only
alone.
in this cabinet.
We gave you, through
I
this
said thank
stupid
you.
president, $350 billion.
You voted
We gave
for
you
your
military equipment,
You
and you
voted
men
for
are
your
brave,
president.
but they had to use our military.
What about
if you didn't have
You
our
invited
military
me-
equipment,
You invited
if
me
you
to
didn't
speak.
have our military equipment, this war would have been over in 2 weeks.
In 3
okay?
days, I heard it from Putin. In 3 days, this is something
Maybe
new.
less.
In 2 weeks, of course he has.
It's going to be a very hard thing to do business like this. I tell you.
To say thank you,
I said a lot of times
except that
thank
there,
you
except
to
that,
American people.
except that there are disagreements, and let's go litigate those disagreements rather than trying to fight it out in the American media when you're wrong. We know that you're wrong.
But you see, I think it's good for the American people to see what's going on.
I
over
understand,
there.
sir.
I think it's
I
very
understand.
important. That's why I kept this going so long. You have to be thankful. You don't have the
I'm
cards.
thankful.
You're buried there. Your people are dying.
tell you
You're
again,
running low
I
on
know.
soldiers.
Don't-
Listen,
don't please,
you're running
Mr.
low on
President.
soldiers. It would be a damn good thing.
Mr.
And then
President.
then you tell us, I don't want a ceasefire. I don't want a ceasefire. I want to go and I want this. Look, if you could get a ceasefire right now, I tell you, you take it so the bullets stop flying and your men stop getting killed.
Of course, we want to stop the war.
But you're saying you don't want a ceasefire.
But I said to you,
I want a ceasefire.
with guarantees.
Because you'll get a ceasefire faster than an agreement.
Ask our people about ceasefire, what they think.
That wasn't
Doesn't
with
matter
me.
for you what
That
what
wasn't
this
with me.
means.
That was with a guy named Biden, who was not a smart person. That was with Obama.
It was your president.
Excuse me. That was with Obama, who gave you sheets, and I gave you javelins.
Yes.
I gave you the javelins to take out all those tanks. Obama gave you sheets. In fact, the statement is Obama gave sheets and Trump gave javelins. You got to be more thankful, because let me tell you, you don't have the cards. With us, you have the cards. But with
You don't have the cards, but with us, you have the cards. With the U.S., you have the cards. So, this is Zelensky says, I'm not playing cards. And a Biden stupid. You heard what was said, what happens during the administration, things that were given away, things that were done. Obama gave you sheets, we gave you javelins, and basically without the help of the U.S., Zelensky would have fallen to Russia a long time ago. At the beginning, maybe within 2 weeks, Zelensky responded, no, 2 days. So he recognizes what he's up against, but it was just done in the view of everyone as we were all watching this. He was, this is my opinion, he was cut off a couple times. I felt embarrassed for him. I felt embarrassed for the White House. I felt embarrassed for how others around the world were looking at what was going on and the treatment, or at least what appeared to be going on in the Oval Office. There were many, many reporters from different sides. They were just looking stunned. They couldn't believe their ears or their eyes, what they were watching. Okay. So we will hear more about this reaction, I'm sure, as the days go by. It is now just about 11:28. Welcome to everyone who has joined me this morning for a little bit of mocha. How about some more coffee music before I say goodbye? I don't know. Let's see how this one sounds. Sometimes, like they mix tracks together. I don't know. Let's see. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, I will find something else. working buttons. But now it's time to say goodbye. Biggest bear hugs go out to each and every one of the Grizzlies and the Honey Bears. Join me later when I come back tonight, I think, for Night Talk. Yeah. Thanks for watching. Until next time, I'm Teddy. Have a great Saturday.